Hey guys, good morning. This is John here with another video for you guys. If you have not subscribed to my channel already, would love for you guys to do that, as well as hit that bell icon. That way you guys get notified every time I post a video on here. So this morning, I just really had something kind of lay in my heart that I wanted to share with you guys. It's a bit of a testimony, but there's a purpose behind the testimony, right? Anytime that we share a testimony, there should be a reason for it, right? Not just for a good story, not just to share our testimony, right? And so this kind of comes off of me watching two movies recently. So I watched The American Gospel, Christ Alone, and then I watched their second movie, The American Gospel, Christ Crucified. I'm not really going to review those movies here. There's some great aspects to them. There's kind of some negative aspects to them as well. But that's not why I'm here, right? So as I'm watching these two movies, I really was convicted of something. And that conviction for me was that we have to recognize that everything is for the glory of God, right? Everything is for God's glory. And so what I want to share with you, I want to share with you a brief testimony and then maybe explain a little bit about what I mean. So we moved here to Puerto Rico in 2014. We felt the Lord asking us to move here to Puerto Rico to serve Him. We didn't know what that looked like. We came down here with no financial support. We didn't have a sending church. We didn't have a sending ministry. We didn't view ourselves as missionaries, right? We just saw ourselves as Christians who wanted to be obedient. Jesus was asking us to move to Puerto Rico, so we did. So we moved down here, and I'm not gonna lie, like the first couple of years was quite a struggle financially, in the sense of what the world would see, right? But as far as from like a spiritual standpoint, man, like God provided every single step of the way. I mean, I could go story after story, how God just provided, and maybe that's a time for another story and another day, right? But what I want to share, so when we first moved down here, we bought a 1988 Isuzu Trooper. If you don't know what that is, Google 1988 two-door Isuzu Trooper. And that's what we had purchased. We had purchased it for $800 down here. And we drove that thing to the ground, guys. And so I believe it was like 2015, I think it was, maybe 2016. I think it was probably about 2015, maybe late 2015. We had met some friends here on the island previously, and they lived on the west coast of the island. So we live more on the northeast coast of the island, where they lived on the west coast. And they were going back to the States for a conference from their sending church. And so they asked us if we could watch their house for them. And of course we said we would. Not only are they friends and we wanted to be able to care for their home, they lived in a pretty awesome spot. They lived right on the ocean, right off of some areas of fishing. He had a fishing business, and so we would often go out on the boat with him and whatnot. But this particular time, we had driven out there with our trooper. Now this thing was always breaking down. It was breaking down so much that I carried my toolbox in the back so I could fix it on the go whenever I had to. And so this particular time, we get out there. I've got my toolbox, just kind of basic tools, right? And my fuel pump goes out. And I am just mad. I am mad at God. My fuel pump went out. I don't have money to buy a fuel pump. Lord, what in the world? You know, and I was just mad at God. And so I'm yelling at God. Like, God, like, why aren't you continually providing for us in better ways, right? Like, how in the world are we supposed to travel this island, do what you've called us to do, and this piece of junk vehicle that's always breaking down? I'm always needing to put money into it. Lord, why won't you just give us a better vehicle? Lord, why aren't you providing? Why aren't you meeting those needs? And so I was just furious, right? And so they had a kayak. I was there at the house by myself, and so I just grabbed the kayak and I just like paddled out right in the ocean. And I'm just like, I'm talking with God, I'm yelling at God, I'm praying, I'm just like, I'm so frustrated, right? Because it just seems like there's like one thing after another when it comes to provision. Now, mind you, God has provided everything up to that point. Like, there was no reason for me to doubt his provision because he had already provided, right? Maybe he hadn't provided like we wanted him to, but he's provided. Like we never had a need, right? So here I am mad, right? Fuel pumps out, yelling at God, and I'm sitting on my kayak and I'm out in the ocean and I hear God, man, clear as day. I'm not gonna say it was audible, but it could have been, right? And God said, plain as day, John, why do I need to meet your needs? Why do I meet your need? Why do I make sure that your provisions are met? What is my purpose in doing that? And so my response to God was, well, God, like, how are we supposed to serve you? How are we supposed to fulfill the mission you've called us to? Lord, how am I supposed to do what you've called me to do here if we're constantly in need, right? And God said, oh, so that's why I provide for you. I provide for you so you can do what I've called you to do so you can continue doing it? Oh. Or do I provide for you, John, so I can get all the glory from that provision? So I can get all the glory from the work I've called you to. So I can get glory and honor and praise through that provision and through your work. And man, like in that moment, like I just melted in that kayak, right? It's like, I like almost envision myself wearing a pair of like those big like 1970s glasses, you know, like with like rose tinted lenses, right? And I just feel like those glasses were just like taken off and I just started crying right there in the kayak. I'm like, oh my gosh, God, I'm so sorry. My prayers have been so self-focused, right? Because I wanted to obey what God was asking me to do. I wanted to fulfill the mission God called me to do. But I'm gonna tell you the truth, I wanted people to know that I was doing it. I wanted people to know John did this for God. God called John to do this. And when God said, John, I don't provide for you. I don't provide for you so your needs can be met. I don't provide for you so you can do what I've asked you to do. The reason I provide for you is so I get the glory out of that provision. And I was like, man, what a game changer for me. So guys, my prayers have changed ever since, right? And then he took it one step farther, right? So I'm paddling in and I'm like, man, like I'm so sorry, God. Like my prayers have been so self-centered, so self-focused. And I get in there, I get my kayak out, and I start walking up the driveway to the house. And it was another one of those moments where like God said so crystal clear. And again, it wasn't audible, but man, could it have been. He said, John, I need you to know something. There is nothing I do for you that's for you. Nothing. I don't do anything for you. Everything I do for me and my glory. But I love you so much. And I desire you to be in a relationship with me so much because I love you. I didn't even save you for you. I saved you for me. I didn't even save you for your salvation. I saved you for me and my glory. So I get the glory of your salvation. Because I love you so much, I sent my son to die for you. Because I love you so much, I caused my son to raise from the dead again. Because I love you, for my own glory, I saved you. And man, did that rock my world. Because for so long, I had it in my mind that God saved me for me. Right? Because God loved me so much, because I was so special to him, because he saw me as this special creation, right? That he wanted to save me for me. And guys, God said, no, that's not why. You get all the blessing from that. You get salvation. You get your forgiveness of sins, right? You have your sins forgiven, but it's not for you and your glory, John. It's for me and my glory. It's because I am holy and I am righteous and I desire a relationship with you. And what that taught me is like, man, that makes so much sense. Because I am a wretched man. I am evil by nature. We are all born into sin nature. We are all rebels against God. We don't deserve salvation. We don't. Because God is holy. God is holy. God is righteous. And we do not deserve to be in a relationship with a righteous and holy God. We don't. But because God loved us so much, he says, you know what? I'm going to wipe that clean. I'm going to wipe your slate clean through the death of my son Jesus. He's going to pay the penalty for what you deserve, because I deserve death. I deserve damnation, right? I don't deserve life. And when we recognize that we do not deserve life, intrinsically, we do not deserve life as human beings because we are born into sin. We are natural rebels of God. We will recognize the power and the glory of God and the majesty of God, and we will understand the power of salvation. We will understand the power of the gospel, and we will come to God even more lovingly because we realize it's not about us. I'm not this special person that God just had to save. No, I'm a creation that's fallen, that God desired to save for his own glory. And guys, if we don't understand that, the reason I share this testimony with you guys, because if we don't share this, if we don't understand this, we have a tendency to go down a path of teaching it's all about me and it's all about us. And when we do that, we start having a fantasized view of God, right? We start creating God in our image, right? We start creating Jesus in our image, right? We start taking the Christian faith and molding it to what makes sense to us, to molding it to what works for us, to molding it where we are the subjects of the gospel, where we are the main focus of the gospel, and we're not. We're not the main focus. Jesus is the main focus, and God's glory is the main focus. We are the beneficiaries of God's glory, guys. That's amazing. He didn't have to do that. And that is a God that is worthy of worship. A God that is so righteous, so glorious, so perfect, so holy, that he chose to forgive us, wretched people, us sinners. He chose to forgive our sin so he could have a relationship with us. Man, that is powerful. That is a God worthy of worshiping, guys. And if we miss that, if we neglect that, if we think the gospel message about us, if you think the gospel message is about you, you're wrong. It's not about you. We're not these wonderful people. We're not these people that God looked down upon and he says, oh, here are all these wonderful people. Oh man, it's such a tragedy that they're living in sin. They're so great and so wonderful. I want to have a relationship with them. He said, no. Look at my creation. What have they done? They're evil. They reject me. They rebel against me. Man, but I want a relationship with them. Man, I didn't create them for this. I created them for perfection. I created them to live with me in relationship. What have they done? Why are they doing this? I want to rescue them. So he did. Through the God-man, Jesus Christ. God came down in the flesh. And if we neglect that, if we say that Jesus was not God, if we say Jesus is only man, if we say Jesus is not God, we miss the whole point. Because God did not kill his son in the sense that we as humans understand son. God came down and sacrificed himself. Jesus came down in the form of a man, but was fully God. So what that means is God himself said, I am looking upon my creation and I want to rescue them because I love them and I want to get the glory for this because I am righteous and I am holy. I am choosing to come to earth in the form of a man, and I am willing to pay the penalty that they deserve. Guys, that is powerful. The God that I serve and the God that I worship and the God that I love chose to sacrifice himself and be the penalty for my sin. Man, if that's not a God that you don't want to worship, you don't understand the gospel message. You don't understand Jesus. You don't understand who God is. You don't understand the power, the righteousness, and the holiness of God. And you don't understand the wretchedness of man. So guys, I just really felt convicted in my heart to share that with you guys because it's so critical. If we don't understand that the gospel message is not for us, but for God and His glory, we miss the point. If we don't understand that Jesus is God, we miss the point of the story. If we don't realize that we are naturally evil people, we are prone to rejecting God, we miss the point of it all. So guys, as you're watching different films, and if you're a mature believer, I honestly would challenge you to watch these two movies, The American Gospel, Christ Alone, and The American Gospel, Christ Crucified. There are some things in there I don't agree with, but if you are a mature believer, I believe it will really propel some thoughts and actually open your eyes up to some of these issues that people have with God, with Jesus, with Christianity, that they may not be outspoken about, that we may not even understand, right? And that may cause you to share your testimony, right, of what God's done in your life, guys. And so I hope this video helped. I know it was a little longer than normal, but that was just really laid on my heart. So guys, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you join me in this journey. Please click the bell icon. That way you guys get notified every time that I share a video. Until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.